The great hall of the Nova Dominion space station was filled with silence. Dozens of alien commanders stood on the glass floor, looking down at the human. He stood alone, hands behind his back, chin up, calm. His jacket was old, dusty, and didn't match the shining armor around him. He looked like a nobody, like someone who didn't belong. But his eyes, sharp and focused, never looked down. He stared straight ahead, right into the face of the alien woman walking toward him. She was tall, her golden skin glowing under the cold lights. Her silver battle uniform fit perfectly, metals shining across her chest. Her name was Captain Varel, known across the galaxy as the Blade of House Rin. She was a high-born warrior, trained to crush rebellions and hunt down threats. And in this moment, she was walking straight toward the only human allowed on the station. Everyone in the hall watched closely. They all hated humans weak, emotional, unpredictable. Most believed Earth had already fallen. But this human, had shown up with an old ID code and demanded to speak to the Dominion Council. And strangely, they let him. When she reached him, she didn't wait. With a sharp movement, she raised her hand and slapped him across the face. The sound echoed through the room like a blast. "That's for being human," she said coldly. Gasps filled the air. Some laughed. Others whispered. But the human didn't move. He just blinked. Slowly, his face turned slightly from the impact. But he stayed still. No anger. No fear. Then he turned his head back toward her. His voice was quiet, almost too calm. Then he said, "You'll love my next trick." He smiled and walked away. Just like that. He walked across the floor, straight toward the main command bay, ignoring the guards. One of them stepped forward, but the captain raised her hand. "Let him go," she said, her voice unsure for the first time. Everyone stared, confused. "What is he doing?" someone whispered. "Where's he going?" another asked. Inside the control room, the human moved, like he had been there before. He pressed 3 keys on the panel, then another 5. His fingers moved fast. Suddenly, red lights blinked. Alarms rang across the station. "Unauthorized access detected," the system AI shouted. On the main screen, an old file opened. Design: a ship. Not just any ship. The room froze. "The Ghost class," someone said. But those were destroyed during the war. Live camera feed came online. The hangar doors were opening. Inside, a massive black ship sat like a sleeping beast. Burn marks covered its hull. Engines glowed dim red. It looked ancient but alive. "How did that get on our station?" Varel whispered. From the control room, the human's voice came through the intercom. "You slapped me for being human," he said. "Let me show you what that really means." Suddenly, the Ghost-class ship powered up. Its core pulsed. Systems responded only to his DNA. Guards rushed in, but the panels locked them out. No one could stop it. Captain Varel stared at the ship, her throat dry. That class of ship had once turned entire battles. It was made for war. Fast, quiet, and deadly. But more than that, it was lost technology. Humans had built it before Earth was supposedly destroyed. How did he have it? Why did he bring it here? And what was he planning next? One guard looked at her. "Should we open fire?" Varel shook her head slowly. "Not yet. I want to see what his trick is." The Ghost-class ship rose in the air, weapons off but engines glowing. A silent message was being broadcast across the galaxy. Old human code, repeating one sentence: "Earth never fell." Asterisk. Long before the slap echoed across the station, the ship had been sleeping deep beneath the ice of a forgotten moon. It was not built for display. It was not meant to survive the war. But somehow it had. Years ago, the human had stood alone in the frozen wind of that moon, staring at a cracked scanner. No signals, no power, only silence and snow. But then he found it buried under 30 meters of ice. The shape was unmistakable. Even under layers of frost and broken steel, a Ghost-class destroyer. They said they were gone, scrapped, hunted down, and erased by the Empire. But this one had survived, though barely. Its hull was damaged, its core offline. Its eye locked in emergency hibernation. Any sane person would have walked away. But humans were never good at walking away. He spent 2 years repairing it. Piece by piece, alone. He stole parts from derelict stations, traded tools with black market aliens, fought off scavengers, lived inside the broken shell, eating recycled food and sleeping in the crew quarters once filled with Earth's finest soldiers. And then, one night it spoke. The AI woke up. "Welcome back, Commander." It remembered him not by name, but by DNA. It called him the last registered human authorized to operate a Ghost-class vessel. Its systems were cracked, scattered, ancient. But they were his now, and he swore to make them sing again now. Back on the Nova Dominion station, the ship hovered above the hangar bay alive again. It didn't roar or show weapons. It didn't need to. The silence was louder than war drums. In the control tower, Captain Varel stared at the screen. "How? Is it responding to him?" she asked quietly. A tech officer gulped. He'd bypassed our locks. "It's not just following his orders. It's protecting him." She narrowed her eyes. "Then he didn't come here to speak. He came to prove a point." Inside the ship, the human sat calmly in the pilot's seat. The lights around him flickered. The console warmed beneath his palms. Everything responded like it was breathing again. He wasn't just a guest anymore. He was in control. The AI spoke again. "Weapons offline, shields up, broadcast in progress." He nodded. "Send the message to all listening stations. Keep it short." The message repeated across 3 systems in 3 languages. "We're still here," Earth breathes. Across space, in hidden rebel zones and mining colonies, old receivers flickered to life. Soldiers who once fought beside humans sat up in shock. Some cried. Others whispered prayers. Back on the station, the council was in chaos. Alien generals demanded answers. Some called for war. Others asked for peace. All were afraid, Captain. Varel received a direct order: detain the human. By any means, she looked at the screen again. Watched the man calmly sip from a tin mug inside that ship. He wasn't hiding. He was waiting. Then something clicked in her memory. A file she'd once read. A warning from the early days of the war. Do not corner a human. They do not beg. They do not surrender. They adapt. She whispered. He knew we'd slap him. Wanted it. It was the signal to start all this. Officer beside her asked, "Should we engage?" She shook her head. No, not yet. She left the tower and walked to the hangar. This time, she wouldn't slap him. This time, she had questions. When she entered the bay, the human was already outside the ship, waiting on the ramp. Same calm eyes, same quiet smirk. "I thought you'd come," he said. She didn't draw her weapon. "What do you want?" Asked, he tilted his head. Justice, memory, and maybe second chance. For Earth. For all of us. She stared at him, trying to read the truth in his voice. Then, behind her, sirens began again. A new threat this time, not human. Unknown ships were entering orbit. And suddenly, the Ghost-class ship's weapons powered on. Uncommanded. The AI's voice echoed into the station's loudspeakers. New target detected. Hostile signature. Confirmed, Captain. Should I fire? She looked at the human. He didn't blink. The orbiting ships were black, jagged, and silent. No banners, no signals, just shadow moving through space. Even before the scanners picked them up, the Ghost-class AI had locked on. Captain Varel stood frozen in the hangar. Facing the human as warning sirens echoed through the walls. Red lights blinked above them, casting sharp shadows on his face. "Who are they?"
Asked.
The human looked up toward the screen, his eyes narrowing. "They're not here for you," he said softly. "They're here for me." She stepped forward. "Who are you exactly?" He finally turned to face her. "My name is Kale, son of Commander Rivenholt. Last living heir of the Terran Bloodline Command." The words struck her like a punch. Terran Bloodline Command, an ancient human order. The last generation of humans trained in both war and diplomacy before the fall of Earth. Every high-ranking house in the alien empires had once feared that bloodline. She had studied them at the academy. She had read about their destruction. She had believed they were all dead. "You're lying," she whispered. Kale didn't blink. "Ask your council. They ordered the assassination." Rel's hands slowly moved to her waist. Not toward a weapon, toward a small device on her belt. A recorder. "If this is true," she said, "then why come back now? Why let me slap you?" The ship? Why all this theater?" He smiled again, but this time it was sad. "Because fear opens more doors than truth," he said. "In pain, it makes people watch. You hit me because of what I am, not who I am. Now the galaxy is watching. They're asking why someone like you would strike first." She looked away, ashamed for a moment, but also calculating. Outside, the black ships took formation. One of them sent a signal. It wasn't in Dominion code. It wasn't in any modern tongue. It was in Old Terran. The AI translated, "Surrender the traitor, or be erased." Kale's face grew cold. "They were our allies once," he said. "Now they're hounds of the Empire, bought, corrupted. They wiped out my family. Now they want to erase the proof." "And you're the proof?" Virel said quietly. He nodded. She tapped her comlink. "Station command, this is Captain Virel. Delay any attack. I'm bringing the human to the tribunal hall for a blood right verification." "Ma'am, council orders." I said delay." She turned to Kale. "If your bloodline is real, our scanners will confirm it. But if you're lying, you can fire your station's full arsenal at my heart," Kale said. They moved together down the corridor, followed by 2 guards. Not enemies now, something in between. In the tribunal hall, Kale placed his hand on the scanner plate. It pricked his palm, drawing a single drop of blood. The machine beeped once, then glowed red, then white, and finally gold. A voice echoed from the machine itself, one not heard in over 50 years. Terran lineage verified. Rivenholt's bloodline confirmed. Clearance restored. Priority override, level Alpha 1. The tribunal hall fell into stunned silence. Even the guards stepped back. Virel stared at the scanner. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You're real." Kale looked around slowly. "Now, do you understand why they're here to kill me?" Suddenly the AI's voice broke in. "Enemy ships charging weapons. Shields at 60%. Incoming fire detected." The room exploded into motion. Officers shouting. Guards running. Outside the windows, bolts of red plasma lit up the sky. Virel grabbed his arm. "Come with me." "Where?" "To your ship," she said. "If you're Terran command, then this station belongs to you." Kale ran beside Captain Virel through the shaking corridor. The lights flickered above them, smoke drifting from cracked panels. As the station shuddered under enemy fire, Kalam screamed in every language, but he didn't flinch. He had already survived the destruction of Earth. This was nothing new, but to Virel. It was chaos she didn't understand. They reached the hangar just as a plasma bolt struck the outer hull. The impact knocked both of them off their feet. Kale rolled and sprang up like a soldier trained since birth. He reached out to help her up, and for the first time, she didn't hesitate to take his hand. The Ghost-class destroyer's ramp opened without. Command, it was waiting for him. Inside, the AI greeted him as always. "Welcome, Commander. All systems green. Shields at 83%. Weapons standing by." Virel looked around in awe. The control room was simple but powerful, dark steel, glowing panels, and a hum that felt alive. She had seen many advanced ships in her career, but this one didn't feel mechanical. It felt personal. "This thing listens to you," she said. Kale nodded. "Not just listens, it remembers." He stepped forward and opened a sealed drawer under the console. Inside were small metal cubes. He held one up. "What is that?" Kale glanced at her. "It's the human trick." He pressed the cube into a port, and the AI began a countdown. Releasing data burst in 3, 2, 1. Across the Dominion star systems, hidden receivers lit up. Forgotten satellites, rebel bunkers, abandoned mining rigs, all tuned into a sudden broadcast. The feed wasn't a weapon. It was information, videos, images, reports, secret war crimes, slaughtered civilians, experiments on human prisoners. Above all, documents showing that the Dominion Council had lied. Earth was never a threat. It was a test subject, Virel's eyes widened as she watched the screen. You were never the monsters. Kale didn't respond. He didn't need to. Her voice trembled. You let me slap you to trigger this. He looked at her now, his voice low. If I had come with proof, no one would listen. But when you slapped me, they saw the arrogance. And when I smiled, they saw something worse. They saw that. I wasn't afraid, she whispered. You baited all of us. I baited the truth, he said. Outside, enemy ships pushed closer. Now ships loyal to the Dominion were hesitating. Some had already stopped firing. Others turned their weapons toward the Black Fleet. Virel watched it unfold. You knew this would happen. Kale shrugged. I had hope. Humans are good at that. Suddenly, a voice came over the ship's com, an unknown frequency. Kale. Holt. This is Captain Arian of the Rebel Fleet. You have my attention? Kale smirked. Finally, Virel turned to him. Now what? He pressed his palm on the console. Now I remind the galaxy that humans don't vanish quietly. A ship lifted. Smooth, fast, silent. As it rose into orbit, the Black Fleet fired again, but this time, the Ghost-class ship moved like wind. Shields absorbed each hit. Then, without a single word, it returned fire, disabling engines, not destroying ships. Clean, efficient, controlled. Other Dominion ships, inspired by the data leak, joined in. Rebellion was no longer an idea. It was spreading. Virel stood behind him, watching the screen. Why didn't you destroy them? Kale replied calmly. Because I don't want to be what they said I was. I want to be what they feared I could. Become. And then, deep in space, another signal arrived. From Earth, the station's screen lit up with a simple message. We hear you, Kale. Proceed to Phase 2. Virel gasped. Earth is alive, Kale smiled. Not at her, but at the stars. High above the planet's orbit, the Ghost-class destroyer hovered like a forgotten god returned to the stars. Oh, the silence of space was broken only by encrypted comms. Rebellious ships changing sides, and captains questioning orders they once followed blindly inside the command deck. Kale stood still as Earth's signal repeated in the background. Proceed to Phase 2. Captain Virel stared at him, her pulse racing. What is Phase 2? Kale didn't answer immediately. He looked out the front view, watching small Dominion ships drift away from the Black Fleet's formation. Phase 1 exposed the truth. Phase 2 brings the choice. Then he turned slowly and handed her a small silver case. It was warm to the touch. What's this? He answered quietly. A memory file. It carries proof that your council sold Dominion citizens your own kind to secret experiments after Earth fell. They blamed humans, but it was your leaders. She froze. Give it to me. Because you're not just a soldier anymore, but you're a witness. Before she could reply, the lights in the command room flickered, then darkened. The ship groaned. AI's voice echoed. Warning. External override attempt in progress. Kale snapped his head toward the console. From where? The response chilled them both. From inside the ship. He and Virel locked eyes. At the same moment, a door behind them hissed open. Two guards, the same Dominion officers who had escorted them earlier, stepped in. Weapons drawn, Kale's expression didn't change. You picked your side, he said calmly. One of the guards sneered. You were never supposed to make it this far. The slap, the council, the ship, all of it was bait, yes. But you were never meant to walk out alive. Virel stepped between them. Lower your weapons. That's an order, the second guard replied. Not anymore. Council gave override. You're both expendable. Kale didn't wait. With one motion, he grabbed the edge of the control panel, flipped it up, and pulled a shock baton hidden inside. Before the guards could fire, the lights exploded in a shower of sparks, then darkness. One scream, a cracked silence. When the lights came back, Kale stood over one unconscious guard, blood on his knuckles. Virel had stunned the other with her sidearm. Smoke filled the air, and the ship's AI rebooted. System integrity restored. Security breach contained. Kale sat back at the console, breathing heavy. Virel stared at him. "Why would your own kind betray you?" He looked at her with tired eyes. "Because power hates the truth. And truth is the only weapon I have." She nodded slowly, her belief in him now deeper. Heavier. Then the next blow landed. The silver case in her hand blinked, not with green light of activation, but with red. Tracking beacon detected. Kale's face hardened. It was never just proof, it was bait. Suddenly, outside the window, a massive Dominion warship dropped from hyperspace. It was a dreadnought class, far bigger than anything Kale's ship could fight. "Target locked," the AI announced. "Incoming fusion cannon." Kale grabbed the controls. "Brace." The Ghost-class ship spun hard, the first blast missing. By inches, the second grazed the shield, sending shockwaves through the hull. Panels shattered, sparks flying. Virel held onto the console, shouting, "We can't outgun that thing." Kale didn't answer with words. He slid in a second cube. AI paused, then spoke, activating stealth sub-protocol, engaging false destruction. From the outside, the ship appeared to be hit. Its core flared, hull cracked, and fire exploded across the surface. The dreadnought captain grinned in satisfaction. But the Ghost-class ship wasn't dead. It had cloaked itself behind its own fake death. Kale, flying blind inside the stealth mode, turned to Virel. "You asked what Phase 2 was?" he said. She nodded breathlessly. He whispered, "It's showing them that killing us doesn't mean we're gone." Astra smoke still drifted through the halls of the Dominion dreadnought, as officers celebrated what they believed was the end of a threat. On every display screen across the station, the destruction of the Ghost-class ship played on repeat, fire bursting, hull twisting, signal lost. But it was all a lie. Inside the real Ghost-class destroyer, cloaked and silent, Kale sat. In darkness, his hands firm on the controls. Virel stood beside him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "They think you're dead," she whispered. "That was the point," Kale replied. "Now we can move without noise." The ship coasted through space like a shadow, no signal, no light. Its systems whispering beneath the surface awake. Watching behind them, a dozen rebel ships waited in silence. Some old Earth designs, others stolen Dominion vessels. For the first time in decades, Earth's resistance had a voice again. Kale stood and walked to the center chamber. There, he activated a wide-range relay, the same one his father had built into the ship long ago. It was old tech, buried deep, invisible to modern scanners. Virel followed him. "What are you doing?" He looked at her. "Finishing what they tried to erase." The relay glowed, connecting systems light years away. Then, one by one, they answered. First a mining colony, then an outlaw moon, then a rebel frigate hiding behind a gas giant. Each voice said the same thing. "We see the ghost. Earth lives." Kale smiled.
No, they know, no.
But not everyone was celebrating. Back on the Dominion Council station, confusion turned into fear. The data Kale released had spread like wildfire. Citizens demanded answers. Young officers began questioning orders. Whispers of rebellion traveled faster than light. One council member slammed his fist on the table. "We should have killed them all when we had the chance." Another growled. "You tried. Look what it brought. A ghost with teeth." Captain Virel, watching from a secure relay stream, shook her head. "They're breaking apart." Kale nodded. "Tyranny doesn't survive truth. It only survives silence." Suddenly, the ship's AI interrupted. New signal detected. Location: Empress's throne world. Virel straightened. "That's the heart of the Dominion." Kale looked at the display, and the final wall to break. The signal was weak, but clear. A voice small, trembling from someone inside the Empress's palace. A girl. "My name is Lyra. I was born to the House of Rin. They told me humans were evil, but now I know. They lied." I'm not the only one who wants change, but we need help. Virel blinked. House of Rin. That's my bloodline. Kale turned to her, surprised. She's your sister? He asked. Virel shook her head. No. My cousin. I thought she vanished during the purge. The message repeated. If you're still out there, help us. Bring the ghost. Kale paced for a moment. If we go, we won't be sneaking anymore. The Empire will throw everything they have. Virel stepped forward. Then we hit them where they feel safest. Kale paused, then looked her dead in the eye. You sure you want to do this? You were their weapon once? She met his gaze without blinking. Then let me be their reckoning. Kale nodded slowly. Prepare for jump, he said. Take the fight to the throne. The AI confirmed. Coordinates locked. Engaging cloak jump. Rebel fleet on standby. Virel whispered under her breath. This isn't just revenge. Kale answered. No, it's history correcting itself. And with a surge of silent light, the Ghost-class destroyer vanished into the stars, headed for the Dominion's most guarded world, with an empire's lies behind them and a growing rebellion ahead. The Dominion throne world was a planet of gold towers and black skies. No one attacked it, no one approached it. It was the heart of the Empire, shielded by fleets, protected by pride, feared by millions. Until now, the moment the Ghost-class destroyer dropped out of stealth mode, alarms screamed across the capital, defense systems charged. Squadrons scrambled into formation, but they were already too late. The Ghost had arrived. Inside the ship, Kale stood silently in the command chamber, his eyes locked on the holographic image of the royal palace floating like a dark crown over the planet's capital. Behind him, Virel adjusted her gauntlet, her Dominion uniform now stripped of its rank. She had chosen her side. The throne is guarded by elite ground troops, she said. But the people inside, they don't know what's real anymore. Your signal broke more than their silence. Kale nodded. Dan, let's break their chains. The AI spoke. Broadcast 2. All Dominion systems, channel open. Kale stepped forward, facing the ship's main camera. For the first time, his face was broadcast to the entire Empire. He spoke slowly, clearly. My name is Kale Holt, son of Earth. You were told we were extinct. You were told we were monsters. You were told we were weak. They lied. He paused. We were silent. Not gone now. We speak. Across thousands of planets, workers stopped. Soldiers dropped weapons. Slaves looked up. Even the Empress, sitting on her throne, froze at the sound of his voice. And then the Ghost made its move. It didn't fire. It landed. Right in the royal courtyard. Kale and Virel walked down the ramp together. Rebel forces had already begun to rise from secret tunnels. Civilians flooded the streets chanting only one word: Ghost, Ghost, Ghost. Inside the palace, guards raised weapons but hesitated, because the Empress herself had stepped forward. She was tall, graceful, and cruel. Her golden armor shimmered like fire. Her voice was smooth but sharp. You've come to die, she said. Kale looked at her, unshaken. No, I've come to end the lies. She laughed once. You think showing your face will change history? Kale took a step forward. I'm not here to change history. I'm here to finish it. She moved fast, drawing a blade of pure plasma, aiming it at his heart. But before she could strike, Virel stepped in, parrying the blow. Blade met blade, niece met aunt. You taught me to obey, Virel said through gritted teeth, but you never taught me how to question. He did. Their duel shook the floor. Sparks flew as the Empress hissed with rage, but Virel was no longer afraid. Her loyalty had shattered the moment she saw truth. She fought not for a flag, but for freedom. Then, in one swift motion, Virel disarmed her. The Empress fell back. Stunned, Kale walked forward and handed her a small cube, the final memory file. Broadcast this to your council chambers. Let them see what you did to your own people. She looked up at him, defeated. You were supposed to burn, she said. Kale turned away. We did, but fire makes steel. The Ghost-class ship rose behind him. its engines humming like thunder. Rebel ships filled the sky. The Dominion Council collapsed within hours, and Earth's voice returned to the stars. Asterisk, months later, Kale stood at a quiet cliff on Earth's surface. Trees moved with the wind. The scars of war were healing. Children played near a restored outpost. Varel walked beside him, now a part of the Free Systems Alliance. No longer a captain, just a name, just a fighter, just free. She looked at him and asked, "So, was that your last trick?" Kale smiled. That was just the first. Above them, the stars listened.